Dude. Oh my God.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me on this Sunday. So I've been wanting to do a flipping video, but flipping is really broken into a bunch of different categories depending on the time of year. Now we have the pre-spawn, winter, cold water time, and that's what this video is going to be about today. But I really want to break down the importance of having a bunch of different rods while you're doing this, because what you're fishing now is kind of all over the place. A lot of it has to do with how much the water has fluctuated recently, how stable the conditions have been, the warming trends, and where the water temperatures have been leading up to this moment. So I'm going to go into all of that. Right here, you see me, I'm starting out with a tube. So I'm going to go into that bait a little bit. That is just a 3-inch flipping tube, a real cold water gem. This is a really good bait when you're fishing around fish that are pressured, and I've got it modified. So if you watch my video from yesterday, I put a split ring on there. I really like the way that makes that tube sit on the hook. I feel like my hookup percentage is better. The action of the bait is a little bit different than the status quo, and I go with a super light weight. So that's a 1/4 ounce weight, which is significantly lighter than I would flip most of the time. But with the tube, you can get away with that lightweight, and I'm not picking up a bunch of dead sediment on my bait every time. And in this cold water, when a lot of your bites just feel like dead weight, very important to have feel of your bait and your bait only. So I'm flipping around in this area and I'm fishing everything. So that's the biggest difference between the pre-spawn and the spawn. I am fishing targets now in the pre-spawn. In the spawn, I would be more so just flipping around to where I think a fish may be spawning. In the pre-spawn, anytime I'm flipping, it's all to do with targets. So what I mean by that is if I was just regularly fishing how I want in the pre-spawn, chatterbait, square bill, I'm going to be throwing baits that put off a lot of vibration that I can move around quickly. And I'm sensing, or those fish are sensing my bait through their lateral line. The only reason I ever flip when you have water that's super cold is I cannot get a bait to those fish effectively any other way. So I would like to be throwing a spinnerbait. I would like to be throwing baits that vibrate, shimmy, give off a lot of sonic pulse. I can't do that in these type stretches. I'm flipping matted vegetation. I'm flipping junk vegetation that has floated into other stuff that's growing on the bottom, or it's been pushed into docks. I'm fishing the dock. So I'm doing a lot of different things, and I'm going to go into the different baits that I'm using. But here is a fish catch. The sound quality was really bad, so I had to put this in there. But this fish catch kind of clued me in on, okay, there's big fish in this area, but what was really weird, after I caught this fish, I fished like 4 or 5 more of these mats that were isolated and almost in the exact same type of situation that this one was in, and I didn't get bit in any of those. So that just went to tell me you got to be fishing everything, because those fish have moved all around. A lot of water fluctuation, a lot of up and down levels of the lake. So fish are moving to the dirt shallow part. Some days you're going to catch them on the piers way close to the bank. And then there's going to be days where they're out on the end. So you have to fish everything, because the constant change of springtime, the lake levels, the water temperature, sun clouds, constantly moving fish around. Before we go into this fish catch, let's talk about the bait real quick. This is a simple punch rig. You start with a bobber stopper on top, and then I use a ounce weight because that matted vegetation was pretty thin, didn't take a whole lot to get through it, with a punch skirt built in. So if you look at, this is just a little bit unique weight that you can put a skirt on. So just put a skirt right on that weight, and then I snell my hook, which a 3/0 6-cents ox flipping hook, or OX flipping hook, and then a Yum woolly hog craw as my bait. I know everybody flips black and blue, but sometimes you got to be different. I like chartreuse and green pumpkin with a little bit of watermelon. Don't think that's super important. Necessarily don't think any of this is super important, but I will say in that colder water, I do like the punch skirt. It just allows that bait to fall a little bit slower, kind of parachutes that bait when you're pulsing it up and down in the mat.
Dude, that's like a freaking 6. Oh my God. That's a huge bass. Dude. Oh my God. That's a freaking toad. Whew. God, I don't even know how big that is. That is a tank.
So I've figured out that there are big fish, obviously, in this area, but I don't have enough of those mats to just go fish the mats. So I'm going to continue to fish everything because I think the pattern is that there are big fish and there are plenty of fish in this area. I just have to cover it all. So I need a couple different baits that are going to work. I already showed you the tube. That's going to be when I'm in that really mucky, sediment-filled bottom. When I get in a little bit cleaner bottom, that's when I'm going to go with my full-size jig. So since I'm seeing big fish and I'm getting plenty of bites, I already had a bite before that big fish on the tube. So I know that I don't necessarily have to fish a small finesse jig. I'm not so much concerned about bites. I want quality, so I'm going to go with a full-size jig. I still want my bait moving really slow, so I go with a 3/8 ounce Matt Herron Dirty Jigs flipping jig. If you've seen my videos recently, I like a rattle anytime that water's around 50 degrees. A big salty chunk's going to slow it down. And then I also add the little piece of a soft plastic stick bait to keep that chunk from going all over my hook. That'll keep it right in there. And that soft plastic stick bait is going to keep this a little bit more buoyant. I want that bait just floating around that wood. So I talked about earlier how I did try to fish every mat that I found. I never had any other bites in those mats. So I don't think the mats, as of right now, are the deal. I just think this area was producing. I went back to the tube quite a bit anytime I got in mucky bottom situations. But I really felt like I needed all three of these baits. The matted vegetation, you needed a heavier weight to punch through. That mucky bottom, you needed something with a super lightweight. And then I was trying to catch quality anytime I was around a bottom where that jig wouldn't just bog down. So I would go to that full-size jig. I was rigging that up on 25-pound test fluorocarbon. But there were enough fish in this area to do well. I just needed to continue to fish through them, get rid of those small ones, and continue to catch quality. I was only here for a couple of hours, so I think if you spent a full day, you could have a really good day in this area. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.